Asmongold's
And
true
really,
impact
if I
on
was
Final
going to
Fantasy
TLDR
14.
this for anybody who just doesn't want to necessarily hang out for the video, in summary, I think Final Fantasy 14 is the real winner when it comes to Asmongold playing Final Fantasy 14.
Is that right?
Now, the numbers I think clearly show this, but there's a lot of other big winners, and that's one of the things that I hope this video gets to explore and really kind of open your mind up to what is happening within the world of content creation, but more importantly, the MMO genre as a whole. Outside of that, guys, thanks so much for being here. If you feel like I earn it, like, favorite, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. But more than that, I really hope you enjoy today's video.
Okay, let's see it. Asmongold and Final Fantasy 14. It's kind of weird to see people make videos about
and I love data. It's been a real blast for me over these last few years to be able to dive into some of the most interesting subjects regarding gaming culture, streamers, and MMORPGs. And nothing could have excited me more when Zach, aka Asmongold, finally decided to come and play Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh god.
My game. The game that I've spent the last 13 years covering, playing, and evangelizing this game and its community. Now, both because while I knew
So this is the guy that was on my Reddit. This is him. I didn't know who it was. This is the guy.
There would be some growing pains with having the biggest MMO streamer step into Final Fantasy XIV, but what it could also mean for the game and the years to follow. Now, there's one thing I want to make absolutely clear in this video, is that regardless of how you feel about Asmongold, he is an authority in the MMORPG space. Now, he considers himself more of an entertainer. He might not even accept the label of authority, but that is the reality of it. That is the situation that we find ourselves in.
Which is very upsetting. This is very, very upsetting. Because, like, really, I think that I know what I'm talking about with, like, a lot of these games because I've played a lot of them. And I feel like if you go back and you look at a lot of the stuff that I've said about these games, I've been proven to be right. Like, pretty much every time. Like, there have been some cases, you know, some small cases where I was not right. But I think in general, you know, it happens. I'm right.
He is also the one who put up a lot of walls or barriers to playing Final Fantasy XIV with labels like Weeb Game and essentially keeping that at bay. But when he
I think the main reason why I didn't want to play the game is because people were so fucking annoying about it. It actually had nothing really to do with, like, oh, does he like the game or not? No, it was just because people were so fucking annoying. I didn't want to deal with them. And then once I watched, like, some of the Zeppla videos, and I was like, wow, not everybody in this community is a raging psycho whenever you bring up their game. Maybe I'll try it out. Yeah, that's what it was, right? Like with Guild Wars 2 now? Yes, like with Guild Wars 2 now, exactly, right? I see people spamming me about this game. I never want to play it, just out of principle. Exactly. It's not a weeb game, guys. No, this isn't weeb at all. No, this is totally normal stuff, okay?
Finally broke down those own barriers. He opened up the game and the world to many other players, making it acceptable, making it even profitable for other gamers and other streamers to come and check out Final Fantasy XIV. And
yeah, you see this happen, like, anytime there's a Twitch trend at all, you're gonna see a lot of people that, like, as soon as one person plays a game and it pops off, everybody else is going to start playing that game too. It was the same thing with, like, whenever Soda started doing Among Us, with GTA RP and, like, XQC and Sykkuno and, like, Summit and Buddha and all of them. It was the same thing with, let's see, Final Fantasy XIV and me. It was the same thing with, like, any time that somebody sees somebody else play a game and they pop off, yeah, Fall Guys, everybody starts playing it because they want to, they want to get the views, right? It's their job. Streaming's their job. And you get more views, you get more money. It's just that simple. Ninja and Fortnite, yeah.
In the end, Final Fantasy XIV as a game won. We've seen record numbers in terms of sales, in terms of streamers, in terms of content, in terms of server capacity over the course of this last year. And that's one of the things that I want to spend.
Bro, I would never want to go to one of these. Because, like, what if I, like, so sometimes whenever I'm playing a game, like I'm playing like Fortnite or something, I feel like I'm a little bit too tense, so I go and I jerk off, right? But, like, if I'm here at DreamHack or wherever this is, it's like I can't do that. I just have to sit there and fucking endure it. Like, I would never want, like, no, really, like, what's stopping you? I don't know, probably the security guards.
today diving into. Now, officially, this all kicked off on June 11th, 2021, when Zach sent out the tweet saying, "I will try Final Fantasy XIV." However, I believe that the wheels and the motions were long moving behind the scenes, and this moment marked a very historic one for the game itself and its community. And while the initial impact cannot be denied, was there a lasting impact on 14? And who were the big winners and the losers with this move?
Well, I think that I feel like there's a lot of people at that time. You have to keep in mind, this was like right off of the heels of patch 9.1 release, and the game was just shit. Like, that's all there was to it. The game was a bunch of dog shit ass garbage, and there was nothing to do. Corthia sucked. There's nothing going on. And I was just like, this is not really super fun. And it's also like, you have to think in mind, like, I want to make content for the viewers, right? I want to stream, I want to have games to play, etc. So if I'm going and I'm streaming a game and people fucking hate it, like, that's not fun. That sucks. Like, I want to entertain people. It's that's what I want to do. Like, obviously I might not, like, focus super hard on it and, do whatever. But like, yeah, I want to do something that people want to see.
And that's what this video really hopes to explore, the lasting impact on Asmongold and on Final Fantasy XIV.
I was curious.
Now, I think it's important to understand two things before we get into the data.
Okay, what's number
Final
one?
Fantasy XIV has a cycle. It has repeated itself since ARR into Heaven's Word, and it looks like this. You have what is called the pre-expansion hype, the 0.5 beyond patch. So X.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and to going into the post-expansion burnout of X.1. Now, there are the biggest times and the most exciting times to actually play Final Fantasy XIV. Now, there are those like me who continue to play each and every patch, but in terms of the raw numbers, Final Fantasy XIV's busy season is at the end of the expansion and at the start of the next. The second thing that you really need to understand about Final Fantasy XIV, and that this video is going to actually focus in on, is the social aspect of the game. Now,
Oh, absolutely. There's a big social aspect. I think the big reason why the game was so popular is because I think that Final Fantasy XIV owes a lot of its success to the fact that they just continuously did and delivered a good product regularly. It's like, you'll have a lot of people, it's kind of like the, like the tortoise and the hare. Like, they were just slowly, intently moving towards a goal, and they eventually got to that goal. And that's it. The guy's a clown content creator in the community, bro. People don't take Ginger Prime seriously. Who's people? Is people you? Is that people? Are you people? Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, yeah, listen, we're just watching the video. Like, I don't really, what is this? People is, it's one person, exactly.
Want solid numbers like like subscribers and things like that. The only way you're going to actually get that is to go work for Square Enix, climb the ladder, and maybe they'll disclose them to you. Maybe if you get on the board or something like that. The point being, Square Enix and Final Fantasy XIV are doing just fine. This video is about mindshare. Who really won? And now
it's really hard to say how a game like Final Fantasy is doing, and it's the same thing with WoW, because there's no real public numbers, and the game's popularity is measured on a platform that doesn't have public data. So, like, for example, you can see how many people are playing something if the game is primarily played on Steam. So, for example, you can see how many people are playing New World. RuneScape actively displays how many people are playing the game, and other games that are on Steam, you can see how many people are playing them, just in general. However, with WoW and Final Fantasy, you have no idea. Like, Final Fantasy is a really weird one, because a lot of the videos about Final Fantasy on YouTube get like kind of lukewarm reception. They're not like super popular organically. And on Twitter, Final Fantasy is fucking huge. It's like I'll see fucking Final Fantasy trending randomly for no reason. Look right now. Literally right fucking now. Trending Lalafell at this exact fucking second. It's trending. Why the fuck is it trending? There's nothing happening in the game, but it's just randomly fucking trending. And it's like, there's a lot of people on Twitter that are just, don't click it. I wasn't going to. But like, there's a lot of people on Twitter who just absolutely fucking love talking about Final Fantasy 14. But on Twitch, what's so crazy about it is that nobody plays it. Final Fantasy 14 is like dead on Twitch. Why is it dead on Twitch, but it's trending on Twitter? It's interesting. So it's hard to measure.
I think let's go ahead and dive into this amazing data and explore what we're talking about here today.
Here we go.
First, I want to actually start with just the game Final Fantasy XIV on Twitch.
Yeah.
I think this is really where we're going to see some very interesting bits of data. Now, we can see here over time, the average viewers going back from June 2019
5,000.
all the way up into June or July of 2021 when Asmongold actually started streaming the game. From here, obviously, we see kind of a return more to form, but overall, you can see here, generally speaking, the graph is trending upwards. Now, average viewers are those who are participating and consuming it, but that also relies on people actually playing and streaming the game. Right now, at the time of this recording, 9,900 average viewers are happening at this moment. Yesterday, that was just under 5,000, 30 days average.
I'm surprised it's that many. Like, a lot of times I'll see Final Fantasy and it'll have like 2,000 or 3,000 viewers on Twitch. I do think that a lot of the reason for that is that the prime content that people look forward to seeing in Final Fantasy 14 is the MSQ. It is the story content. And I haven't really seen a lot of streamers that, like, especially like newer streamers, like they go through MSQ and then their viewership drops like a rock. Like, that's just usually what happens. And it's unfortunate that happens, but again, that's the way people like seeing the game. Yeah, and like you'll have to see, like it's the same thing with like a lot of people. And it was probably will be the same thing for me whenever I finish and then I go back and I play the game again. Raids are boring to watch. I think the new ones are fun. Yeah, people want to see the reactions.
5,300, 90 days, 8,000, and a year, 13,000 average viewers. So what does this mean? Well, you can also then compare this to the amount of channels that are averagely streaming it. There's going to have a correlation between people consuming and obviously people providing said content. What I really want to spend some time in here and kind of show you guys this is let's focus in. We'll take off peak and we'll take off peak channels. And you can see here with over the course of time, Final Fantasy has these nice little bumps. These bups, I guess, is what
those
we're going to call it.
Those are going to be the new patches.
You can see
and
here
the new
overall,
releases.
the graph is trending upwards. Blue represents the average number of channels streaming the game, and you can see here this is actually really pretty common. December, a ton of people started actually streaming the game. If you were going to ask my advice about how to get started into streaming and content creation, this blue line really needed to be this blue line. Typically, you'll see a lot of people jump on any kind of trends, and that's something natural within content creation. I'm not going to sit here and make judgment on it, but when it's coming down to the game actually being live, you don't see a huge spike in the actual amount of people watching.
That's because people didn't want to watch the story, and also a lot of the people, like, basically, so like once a streamer becomes popular enough, people watch that streamer because of that streamer. But whenever a streamer has a smaller community, especially whenever it's based around a specific game, it's very hard to transition and play other games, and they're much more at the mercy of that game's community's perception and that game's community's habits. So, for example, if you're a Final Fantasy streamer, you don't want to go and stream MSQ on release because a lot of people aren't going to want to watch you. Now, if I went and I did it, it would be a lot different because a lot of my viewers are not organic Final Fantasy viewers. They are Asmongold viewers, if that makes sense. And so that's why I think you see such a big drop-off with that, is because a lot of those people have a community that's built entirely around the game.
This is something very unique to Final Fantasy XIV, and while I see people get discouraged while streaming and playing this kind of content because you want to have that protected experience, more people are going to try and play. The only thing that would have actually had an impact positively on these numbers themselves is actually going to be the fact that they might not be able to play because they, with all the server issues and things like that.
And that's what happened with Lost Ark, is whenever Lost Ark came out, the servers were down, which was great for me. I had so many viewers just sitting on the login screen because everybody else was like there are people all around the world that were like, man, I can't log in. Let's see what's going to happen. And then they look it up. Yeah, 400,000 people watching of me on a login screen.
You can see here clearly the biggest spike due to Asmongold's influence in this regards. And then it's kind of returning more to a normalized value. So you kind of have this massive hype season for Final Fantasy XIV right now. And you've seen various different hype seasons going about it. So obviously this isn't related to subscribers. I want to make that very, very clear. If people think that it's going to be related to subscribers, note that those...
Well, there's a correlation, right? If you have more viewers, you're going to, on average, have more subscribers. Generally, I had, I don't have a very good subscriber ratio because I don't really incentivize subscribing to my channel. I like having the, I don't have like subscriber only games. I don't really read subs or anything like that. And also I'm kind of an asshole. So people feel less parasocial with me than other streamers. They're like, wow, this guy's a fucking asshole. I love watching him. No, I'm not going to give him any fucking money. Fuck him. No, I'm not going to give him any money. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't need the money. No, I'm not going to give him money. Absolutely not. And so like, that's what the difference is.
Values also fluctuate, but it really doesn't necessarily mean anything to us because it's nothing that Square Enix is going to give us. Let's talk about who really benefited from Final Fantasy XIV's rise and Asmongold breaking down the barrier. If we look at two of the most notable and highest value streamers in terms of watch time, if you take this out, you look at Preach and you look at Pyromancer. If we drill into Pyromancer just as a detailed look, you can see here overall massive Final Fantasy 93.6 by watch hours in terms of his content that he has played, his airtime, his peak watch, his average viewers, massive numbers for Pyromancer. And you can see here over the course of his content, looking back again into that July 2021, this is where you start to see massive growth and influx based off of obviously his viral video, but the barrier to breaking it.
The viral video of him yelling and saying it was all for nothing. OG Space with the 10 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Subathon started. Listen, I thought about doing a subathon, but I would just stream for a month straight and the timer wouldn't move if you subbed. Yeah, so I would call it a subathon, except there would be no impact that people's subs would have on the stream. Timer Princess, thanks, guys. Scary, thanks for the 5 subs, too. Yeah, I appreciate the support, guys. Thanks a lot. I do. I appreciate it. Your reaction to, what's this here? It's that video has 2 million views. Yeah, a lot of people like seeing it. And breakdown stream. Well, the thing is, like, I don't really worry about that stuff. Like, I am on camera usually, like, 12 hours a day. Like, I have no problem, like, being on camera and being off camera. The biggest difference between the two is that I can't jerk off. And, I mean, really, DSP, I mean, there's not a difference in that case. But for, you know, I don't think I would really want to do that. And so, yeah, it's just like no impact on my personal hygiene. Yeah, it's the same type of thing. It's not that big of a deal. You do a reverse subathon where you disappear for a month? Oh, that's a good idea. I could do a reverse subathon where the more people that sub... I could do that. Oh, that's such a good idea. Because, like, a lot of people don't like me, right? I should have done this after the place thing. Is that I will not stream for 10 seconds for every sub that I get. Or, like, 45 seconds. So you can subscribe to the channel to keep me away. You see what I'm saying? Smoke a Monkey, the 5 good subs. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a smart idea. I should have done that. Yeah, you've got to monetize the hate watchers. Think about that.
Down. And him coming in and consuming the game and playing it has been like astronomical in terms of its rise. Now, if we take a look at Preach, massive numbers. Also, you can see here in terms of his gameplay and playtime, 90% of his watch hours coming from Final Fantasy XIV, 7.3% coming from Destiny 2, and 2.1% coming from Stranger in Paradise. And if we take a look at his trends, he's had a long career in history to see this trend line going up and up and up. But overall, you've seen that he's had a couple of big times back in the past. Namely,
Preach has gotten popular just because he's a fun guy, he's likable, and he makes good content. Like it's literally that simple. Like there's no complexity there. There's no like, oh, I wonder why this is. It's obvious why it is, and that's exactly why it is. Yeah, he's smart. People like him. Like that's all there is. So like being likable as a streamer is actually the most important thing. It's not being good at games. It's not being attractive. It's not it's not like who you know. It's just being likable. If people don't like you, they're not going to watch you. Period. Like there are plenty of people that have like a lot of advantages, and let's say they know people and everything like that. It is always about being likable. That's all there is to it. So why people watch XQC? Because they like him. That's why. Exactly. It's like that's the thing. Is like if you quit Lost Ark, of course I quit Lost Ark. You think I'm gonna play that pay-to-win gambling garbage fucking game? I quit. Now I think I'm gonna come back to the game. I might come back to Lost Ark in like a couple of hours or so, and then play it some more because I want to do more honing, right? But yeah, I quit the fucking game. I'm not playing it anymore. I'm done. I'm not playing it. I fuck this. Fuck this game. Yeah, I quit Reddit. Yeah, I quit Reddit too. I'm done. So yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that like being likable as a streamer is the main thing that you need to have. If you are not likable, you will not succeed as a streamer. Period. I don't know how I'm here.
WoW, but now as we get into more of that 2021 look, he actually waited to step into Final Fantasy 14. He did not jump on the July Asmongold rush. He wanted to play a few other games after stepping away a little bit from WoW, and it looks like, according to his watch time, at least he's not streaming World of Warcraft at this time.
At least
I want to not discredit.
I like how he's saying that. At least he's not streaming WoW. I mean, to be fair, like Preach did do the race to world first, but Preach has been like a raider for a long time, so it makes sense. And it's not true. Miskiff's pretty successful streamer, not likable at all. Okay, there's somebody in this chat that hates every single... There's somebody in this chat that doesn't think Preach is likable. They don't think Pyro's likable. They don't think I'm likable, right? They're just in here to disagree with me and say, wrong, no, fucking stupid Baldy, you don't know anything, loser. Listen, what I'm saying is that a lot of the people that have these big communities, it's like Keemstar, for example, right? Keemstar, there are a lot of people that Keemstar is likable towards. A lot of people like Keemstar. This is not about your opinion. This is about the fact that other people out there exist that think the same thing. It doesn't have to be whether it's you. You're not the main character. I'm talking about just in general. I hate him? Well, then never mind. He's not popular anymore. That settles it. He was popular until you said you hated him, and now he's not fucking popular anymore. There we go. Problem solved.
Any of the names that you also see here on screen right now. There are some incredible content creators, and you can see here it's broken up by various different languages: German, Spanish, French, Korean, Italian, Chinese, and Japanese. Overall, Final Fantasy 14 as a channel is doing really well for itself in that regards. But if we want to now shift into a kind of a mindset this year,
people are going to want to watch the live letters. That's the thing. And also, like, I think that once I get into the game and I get caught up, I will stream the live letters too, but I just haven't really played it.
This last year in terms of numbers and the game's growth. Last year experienced a 273% increase in watch hours.
That's a lot.
It had a 433% increase in peak viewers. Average viewers increased by 275%.
That's a big number.
The channels that actually stream Final Fantasy 14 increased by 120%. The average channel streaming the game increased by 71%. And finally, average viewers per channel is increased by 141%.
Now, also, like, you have a lot of WoW viewers that are just sick of, they're not playing WoW anymore, and so they moved over to watch something else instead. In general, people are going to watch a game that they play. Like, most people, like, if you are not if you are not a World of Warcraft player, you are probably not going to be watching World of Warcraft streams. If you are not a League of Legends player, there is a lower probability that you are going to be watching League of Legends streams. It's just what makes sense, right? And it's the same with every game. If you're not a Valheim player, you're probably not going to watch Valheim streams, obviously. Now, this is just the way things work, and it's just common sense. So because the game grew a lot, and there are a lot of viewers, like, WoW is actually, like, whenever you think about it in WoW, WoW is probably one of the most healthy sections in all of Twitch. Like, when you really think about it, right? Like, WoW, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what's happening. The game always has a decent amount of viewers. It has a huge ecosystem of viewers, too, which is, I think, a really big reason why it's so popular, because there are numerous streamers that have thousands of viewers, or not thousands, but like 1,000 viewers usually. And those people, you go and you watch those people. So there's a big ecosystem because WoW has been around. WoW has been... A lot of the biggest streamers on Twitch came from WoW, like Mitch Jones, Soda Poppin', Wreckful, etc. So those people, it's the game has just had so much history in that regard. Tim, yeah, Tim as well. Tim did mostly Overwatch, but I mean, still.
Where do these numbers come from? This growth essentially is obviously attracting new players to the game. And so if we just look at obviously the biggest other MMORPG in the space, World of Warcraft, where a lot of these streamers came from,
exactly.
We've seen a transfer of those hours, not necessarily one-to-one. Like WoW, in their case, their hours were down 20%. The peak viewers down by 54%. Average is down by 19%. Average channels down by 10%. And average viewers per channel actually was up 41%. So
it's because WoW is a boring game to watch. And that's the real reason. WoW is it's just a boring game to watch. Nobody wants to watch. And this is the same problem like Final Fantasy has this to an extent too. Like if you're not a Final Fantasy player, you have no fucking idea what's happening on the screen. Like all of these buttons and all of this stuff, you have no idea. But Final Fantasy does have some positives, and one of the big positives is the fact that the graphics and the effects on the game are uniform. So for example, orange circle, move out. For example, the red collapsing arrow, move in, move out, move in. And so there are universal symbols that are intuitively understandable to a viewer. So, and also to a new player, which is why they're there in the first place. So it does make Final Fantasy to some degree a little bit more watchable, but like I really cannot understand why people watch some WoW streams. And I can, really. It's because they want to watch that person who's good at the game. Is people usually watch somebody on WoW because they're good at the game. And on Final Fantasy, I don't think that there's as much of much attention played or put on being good at the game.
So what's really interesting in here is that despite of 2021 and all the issues that Blizzard themselves have faced, there hasn't been that big of a dip in terms of the average channels overall. So what does all this data end up telling us? What can we really derive from all of this whole maneuver that we've seen? And I think
a lot of it was just WoW streamers moving over to the game and their audience is following them. It's literally that simple. Yeah, that's really what it was. Xeno? No, Xeno's very popular, right? But Xeno's one streamer. I'm talking about like a trend on the section and not just like one person. Like, yeah, you're right with Xeno or Sifa or something like that. Yeah, sure.
Overall, MMO in a genre has actually benefited from this move. We've seen more players willing to check out more games and find the good things within the genre itself. One of the things I've always found interesting about MMOs, specifically as a genre, it's a genre where good ideas go to die because good ideas can't compete with established ideas. And that's one of the things that I feel like with Asmon and with more people coming to play Final Fantasy XIV, you can start to highlight some of the really good ideas that Square Enix has delivered in Final Fantasy XIV. And that can also help.
I think that's very true because playing Final Fantasy, it gave me a lot of insight. And I think a lot of you guys probably feel the same way. It's that after you watch a Final Fantasy raid, do you really want to go back and watch a WoW raid again? It's like, it's a lot slower. It's like you have much more downtime. There's like much more like kinda. But like, in my opinion, raiding in Final Fantasy is much less painless than raiding in WoW. Raiding in WoW, it feels like you're getting kicked in the dick about, every 10 minutes or so. It's like you're wasting time. You have to use resources again. It's just more annoying. The downtime is bad. I think that's what the issue is that Final Fantasy has way less downtime, and I prefer that. Like you always say, competition breeds excellence, and now you don't want to settle for what WoW has to offer. Exactly, and that's a good thing because WoW is going to change, I'm sure.
Benefit the entire MMO genre in and of itself. So, and now I want to actually step into Asmongold, who has quote-unquote stepped away from 14, who has quote-unquote come back to Final Fantasy 14 or is coming back to Final Fantasy 14. And just looking at his numbers for a little bit, let's highlight actually over time. You can look here at July, but that does not even compare to what he's seen in terms of Lost Ark.
Oh, Lost Ark has been
when you
very
look
popular.
at his schedule and his timelines overall,
Look at those massive gaps where I just like randomly stop streaming. It's like, yeah, I'm done. All right, guys, I'm done. That's it. Yep, I'm done again. Yep, all right, guys, I'm done again. Yep, done.
With him and his sub channel, Zachrar, like he obviously is doing incredibly well, but I don't think he's the real winner when it comes to him playing Final Fantasy 14. I think Final Fantasy 14 is a game one. I think Pyromancer and even Preach have really won when it comes to playing Final Fantasy 14 and Asmongold's shift into the genre itself. Then beyond that, I think overall the directory itself, Twitch in and of itself has won dramatically by this, with the attention, with the content, even with the various metas that we see form over on Twitch. That is something that I think has been really interesting overall to see. And then at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see what impact Asmon has when he returns to playing Final Fantasy 14.
I'll be curious.
Because right now, if you look at his hours watch time, Lost Ark, Just Chatting, Elden Ring, New World, and World of Warcraft. And so Asmon is just going to be a variety MMO player, and that's going to overall, like every time he plays one of these games, based off of his weight
Fortnite?
And his authority as who he is, especially what he's built up within his brand, you're going to continue to see him grow from these communities, excited to see him play their game. Anyway, guys.
Oh, I hate to hear that. I hate to hear that because I know how true it is. Excited to see me play their game. They're excited. Yeah, they're excited to see me play their game. Play variety. Yeah. Listen, I like Genshin soon. Not unless I get paid. I would play the game on my own, but I know they'll pay me, and so I'm gonna hold out. Like that's the way I look at it. Okay, like I'm in it to win it. All right, that's what it is. And so yeah. And play Fortnite. Oh yeah, I might do some of it later on, right? But just in general, I don't like to have people try to pressure me in on stuff. But over that, I mean, it's okay in general. Twitch catching an Asmongold video. I played Final Fantasy due to that. Played Lost Ark due to that. Spent money weekly on Twitch streamers. Yeah, sure. You're basically edging Genshin. Yeah, Fortnite wouldn't pay me. I don't really give a shit about that. It's not really a big deal, right? I mean, the Genshin thing, I think, is going to be... Genshin's way more adjacent to my community, right? Because you have, like, a lot of people that play Genshin Impact watch my stream, right? And so it's much different. And there were people that got mad at me for playing Fortnite. They're like, how could you betray us? How could you do such a thing?
Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion. As always, would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, favorite, subscribe, and share if you feel like it earns it. Otherwise, I just hope you have a fantastic day, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
This is a decent video. Yeah, sure. I think that's fair. I think identifying, Pyro and Preach, who like really got a huge boost from it, and also like the fact that like Pyro and Preach, like one thing that they've been doing a lot is they've been playing Final Fantasy, and they stick with it, and they've got their community in the game, and isn't that great? Like I'm happy for them. I think they're doing amazing, man. I do. I think it's great. I don't care about Pyro. Yeah, look, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't give a shit if you like somebody or not. I'm just saying something's happening, something's happening for them, and it's good for them, right? That's all I'm really trying to get at.